So with that, I've sped through this as fast as I could because I want to welcome Pan Vera, and his expertise is in nonviolent communication, how to communicate with grace, which is as intricate and complex as is learning about your energy field, because this isn't something that we're taught as I feel we should be in our families from the time that we toddle and we first learn how to talk in nursery school, in elementary school, in high school, and college. There is literally zero information, and it is such an important part of life. So Pan is going to talk to us about learning to use language and establishing clear and personal boundaries, and probably more. And then he's got a language for lovers upcoming event that I hope we'll have enough time for him to share. So with that, I'm going to stop the sharing of my presentation. And there's Pan. Pan, thank you. Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here now. And let's see if I can give you, I could just share the screen with you, even if you're not doing a formal presentation. So you're the presenter on camera, or are you comfortable with my being here?
Oh, I'm very comfortable with you being there. It's just fine. And people can choose if they're on Zoom to use the speaker view. But I really love what you just said. And it's one of the things that tends to baffle me, that there are things that happen in life that are inevitable and they're not covered in our education. Like most of us are going to get married, and we have this idea of this romantic relationship with Prince Charming and Cinderella, and everyone is happy ever thereafter, and that's not what happens. The other thing that drives me crazy is we don't know how to raise children. It's tragic, but it's not a dead end. There are ways to really become aware of these things. So when I first met Dr. Marshall Rosenberg, who's the founder of Nonviolent Communication, it took me about 5 minutes to know that he had the best tool for peace I had ever heard of, which was pretty important to me because I was in a military family. I had been living in Germany, and my father loaded the 5 kids up in the car with my mother, and we went to this little 1-lane gravel road that was the bug out route for 50,000 American dependents. I was not impressed. And then I was in Ireland going to school when the Cuban Missile happened, Cuban Missile Crisis. And everybody asked me, what were we going to do next? Well, I was 13 years old, so I didn't have an answer for that. So when Marshall was talking about his process, like I said, 5 minutes, I knew it was the best tool for peace I'd ever seen. Basically, what he was offering was a way for people to talk about what we agree on. And in our normal dominator language, where we criticize and analyze and diagnose and judge and blame and shame, it's guaranteed to destroy connection, sadly. But he had this very simple process: observation, feeling, need, request. So I realized right away it was really powerful. And then 5 minutes later, I realized that the way that I spoke didn't match my spiritual beliefs at all. He asked us to write down something that happened and then share our feeling. And I said, well, I felt criticized. And he said, that's not a feeling. Well, I felt judged. And he said, that's not a feeling. And I think I threw something else out. It was really a description of what other people do to me, not a feeling at all. So I had a lot to learn about that, and I did. After a while, I decided to become a trainer, and Marshall recommended this book to me called The Future of Love by Daphne Kingsma. And in that book, she talks about the 7 stages of relationship. And I just want to share what they are. I won't go into detail on it. But the first stage is romance, moonlight, and red roses. We just fall in love with someone and we think they're perfect and they're going to make us happy for the rest of our lives. Well, that's what the hormones told us, but our soul had a different idea. We actually found the person who's most likely to drive us crazy in the way that we need to grow. We don't know that yet. The second thing we do is we make a commitment, a pledge, and we imagine that every need that we have will finally be met in grand style. Don't count on it. Third, we have a crisis, a crack in the vase, where all of a sudden we realize that we're two different people and the veil of romantic illusion is lifted. And how are we going to handle this reveal? Typically, we handle it by the ordeal, the power struggle, where things come up that are going to be part of the relationship for its entire existence. And the romance is no longer being carried on the wings of romance and great expectations. It's dragged down by disappointment and feelings of being out of control. And if you're courageous, you can start looking at yourself. Sometimes a transformation to authentic love and acceptance can occur. After that, then we have chaos. We give up the idea that we can change this person and make them perfect for us, which results in all kinds of disconnection. Really, though, we're at its point where we can have spiritual growth. So the sixth stage is where we surrender. We give up expectations, we give way to the process, and often in the minute of surrender, light begins to dawn on the relationship. Patterns emerge, sight is clear, the value of the chaos is realized, and we're born anew in the relationship and in our lives. Then we transform into true love, unconditional acceptance, a great deal of joy about the things that used to drive us crazy, and total love and belonging together. So we could learn this in school. It's not difficult. It's pretty easy to lay out. It's hard to believe when you're in your 20s because we have been misled. But really, the most powerful thing you can do in your life, I believe, is to have a truly loving, intimate relationship. So I spent 46 years being married. People say, ooh, until I say, but there were 4 different women that I was married to, 10 years each plus. And so I'm one of those people who learn from my mistakes. And I have been teaching this Language for Lovers course since 2004. And I haven't saved every marriage. Some marriages are not going to be saved. You're better off finding someone that you can carry on the journey of the 7 stages with someone else. But most of them are deeply satisfied with their relationship after they've taken this course. I was attending one of these masterminds and I was chatting away and suddenly somebody says, Pan's stuff is really great. We've been doing what he suggested 10 years ago and we just loved each other more than ever. So I had to reach out to her and talk to her and her husband, and they had been told by 3 therapists they should get divorced. They learned how to talk to each other with those 4 simple tools so they could really connect, love, and understand each other. That's what I offer in this Language for Lovers class, the combination of learning how to use nonviolent communication. I call it life-serving communication because when Marshall started out and he said nonviolence, people thought of Gandhi and Martin Luther King. And nowadays, when I use that term, they say, oh, I don't need that. I don't beat my wife. But it's really about life-serving communication, how to love yourself, how to love others, how to communicate in ways where everyone's needs are being met. And that is what I have to offer and what I enjoy with deep bliss when I can help people connect with each other and learn what I think they should have learned in kindergarten. No. So that's kind of what I have to say. And I do have a link to a handbook, which will give you a little bit of idea in 2 pages what nonviolent communication.
I put it in already, but go ahead.
All right.
Again.
Okay, there it is. No, you got it. I see it. Well, just in case somebody came in just now. No, it looks like it's there. So I really liked very much what you had to say about dating. It was very insightful for me. And I think that people do very, very well to have the kind of understanding that you're going to offer in your trainings. Relationship is challenging. It's meant to be that way. But with acceptance, love, and care, it can be the most profound spiritual path you could follow. So I highly recommend it. And I was particularly delighted to see your explanation of the 17, I think it was, chakras and how they relate to each other. And I learned quite a few things from you during this process. So I'm really glad that you reached out and invited me to come here today. I celebrate what you have to offer people. Thank you so much.
It's so important, Pan, and I appreciate that you're looking. I'm really into the energy field and to this biospiritual dynamics and what happens in the DNA. And I've got a holistic product, and that all sounds very mindy, but it isn't. I'm really absolutely coming from a 15th chakra and body perspective.
Yeah.
And I started my organization, which is a legacy project for me, Living Lessons Library, because people do need to know about this information more than ever.
Yeah.
Young children can learn this. Their parents can learn this. They can practice this together. I did this with my kids, right?
Yeah.
And it was instinctive. It was just, this is what I'm going to choose and do.
Absolutely.
It needs to be more than instinctive.
Yeah. And what's interesting about the correlation between what you just said is what I like to say about nonviolent communication. It's fundamentally not mental. You really have to get into your body, which has so much wisdom. And our emotions are not meaningless and off the wall and so on and so forth. They are there for a very important reason. They're there to draw our attention to whether or not our life is joyful or sad. And when we pay attention to them, then we know that there are these needs, these values that are so central to enjoying life. And we feel miserable when we don't have them, and we feel fantastic when we do have them. But most people don't know what they are. And that's sad. So that's why I do what I do.
They become a soup instead of a salad.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that.
Soup is great. It serves a purpose. But a salad, when you can distinguish every taste and every flavor and add different elements to your salad that change the way that you experience those ingredients, the ability to be distinct and specific and discerning. I like to use the word discernment a lot. A long time ago, I learned to substitute discernment for judgment, for blame, for shame, because discernment allows me to be in the present moment, aware of what I'm feeling, aware of what my body is asking me to consider. Sometimes that discernment invites me to speak. Other times it says, you don't need to say anything. But a lot of times that discernment for me results in a communication of energetic touch and awareness and awakening the energy fields and clearing them and healing them. That's a very profound relationship, because when people come in and then work with me, I will call them out. If discernment says, call this person out, they're acting from their unconscious, they're not awake, they're sleepwalking, I do that. But I do that in a way that's empowering. And I do that in a way that invites compare and contrast. Takes practice. It does take practice. But it is so gratifying. And we're walking around right now. I'm aware that I find in client work, most people aren't aware of what they need.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Absolutely. No. I totally, that's exactly what I run into. I need you to do this, that, or the other thing. I need a new house. I need a new car. I need a new lover. Those aren't needs. Those are strategies to get what you want out of life. And you know what needs really are. They're universal. All humans have the same needs. I believe all life has the same needs. They're not related to a person or a place or a thing. They're fundamentally part of our psyche, our cellular system. And when we can reach agreement, if someone is in conflict with us, especially if it's our lover, and we can get out of the story and rise to the level of the need and discover that one person has a need to be heard and be understood. The other person says, yeah, I have that need too.
Mhm.
And we don't care about who said what, when. There's no healing in any of that. It's in the past. Healing only occurs in the present moment.
Mhm.
And when we share the feeling that we have and what the need is, we do not have to explain it. In fact, if we try to explain it, we lose the connection because we each experience these needs in different
Yeah.
ways.
Mhm.
And we also experience what happened 5 minutes ago in the room with another person. We did not have the same experience because we come to the experience with our past and our longing and our own individuality. That's okay. Doesn't mean we can't communicate. In fact, the more we ignore that stuff, the more we do communicate.
I really appreciate that perspective. And I have a really interesting relationship with time. And I find that time changes the way it expresses in my life and in my relationships, depending on how present I am and how connected I am to the past, but also how connected I am to the future that my DNA is still spinning out with every breath that I take. So it's a marvelous adventure. And I think we come to the place, I love what you said about the 7 stages because they actually correlate to the chakras. They really do.
I wonder if that's a coincidence.
There's a really wonderful experiential correlation when energy is running and the chakras are not bound by anything but our own being, where what we're talking about, what we invite people to consider from a lived place becomes totally possible. And it extends beyond you and your beloved, you and your loved one. It extends into the community. And it really does empower many more people than just you and your lover, because you're literally, when you get to that place, you're broadcasting. You are emitting information as frequency, which is what I work with. And then that frequency becomes shared information, and it opens up people to express their perspective in relationship to that frequency, not in relationship to ego or their confined experience of what's just happening or what's happening. Then we actually see each other, hear each other, and feel each other at the deepest level possible. And in that, we come bounding into yes, where our diversity bounds into unity. And then the embodied experience becomes a 360 spherical opportunity.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah.
Better than a hot dog. I don't know. Better than pizza. Better than ice cream. Better than opioid drugs.
Yeah. Even better than chocolate.
Better than chocolate, which people look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, no, it's really better than chocolate. So at this point, I would like to see if anyone who is, and sometimes people don't want to come on camera and they don't have a question, but if anyone is here and they would like to chime into the conversation, we invite you to do that. So I do appreciate when you come off camera, because this is an opportunity for me to share some of what I'm expressing and what Pan's expressing in a larger context, in terms of the audience that I have and the audience that he has, and the audience that you may have, depending on who you are, who wants to ask the question and chime in. So if you have something you want to say, contribute, comment on, please come off camera, come off mute, and jump in. You're invited. Now, I know there are other people here, but they may not be.
Well, I have a question on what made you be interested in the whole topic. I missed the first part of this interview, so maybe you already shared that.
Yes, we did, and it will be in the
Okay.
recording, but
Okay, so we'll watch it.
Pan would like to answer that question. I'm not going to stop him from answering it again.
What brought me into nonviolent communication?
Mhm.
Let me just say this. When I met Marshall Rosenberg, I had been diagnosed with acute chronic clinical depression. And that meant that it messes up your life. It's there all the time. We can see it in your blood, and you probably already have been that way. So I started practicing in BC, and it leveled me out quite nicely. I also was grateful for the antidepressant medication I was taking. That was tremendously helpful. But 10, 15 years later, I moved from the West Coast to the East Coast, and my medication is hopscotching across the country behind me. And I find myself on an island with 20 people in this huge house, and I'm out of medication. So I explained to them that I'm going to be depressed. I'll be in my room. You won't see much about me. Don't worry about me. Just go on having fun. Well, I never got depressed, even without the medication. Why did that happen? Because with this life-serving communication skill, I had changed the way I talked to myself. I had expunged all of the derogatory things that had been said to me, the lack of acceptance in my family. And my gratitude to Marshall Rosenberg just exploded. And I actually worked as his IT person for 10 years. And one of the highlights of my life was drinking Irish whiskey with him. So I'm just ever so grateful that my life has unfolded in the way that it has. And it has certainly made the second half of my life much more fun. And most of all, the gratitude that I receive when I'm helping people learn how to communicate what's important to them in their lives is just unbounded. It's amazing. One time I was at a workshop and I asked Marshall, you're in the air 300 days a year. When I pick you up at the airport, you're talking about a workshop that you did in New York City, and I'm at the airport in Seattle. And when I'm taking you back to the airport, you're going to someplace in Europe. How do you do this? And he was funny. He really liked to use puppets to talk about his language. And he had a jackal puppet to demonstrate the way that the dominator language we've been raised in. That's how he would display that. And he had a giraffe puppet that he thought was a good symbol for his language, because the giraffe has the long neck with its great perspective. It has the largest heart of any land animal, and it thrives on the thorn of the acacia tree, which indigenous people tie to the end of sticks and use as a spear.
Yeah.
But what is dangerous to other animals is food to the giraffe. And that actually plays out when you're beginning to do this and you're not thinking about it, you're just doing it. You can't wait for some kind of discord to happen so that you can overcome it and get connected with the person. So we can thrive on discontent if we know how to listen with our heart and speak with our soul, we can create connection just about anywhere. So that's how I got into it. And I got totally hooked, and it's been my life since 2001.
Oh, that's a great, great story. And thanks for sharing that. So it was a wonderful question. And just to share with you, one of my ideas that will work on as I'm in legacy mode is have a children's book, an idea for a children's book. And the title of it is Nobody Rides a Giraffe.
Can't wait to read it.
Yeah, just real simple children's book.
Yeah.
So
I love being a parent. It was just such joy to me. And I had 2 biological children, 2 stepchildren, and 13 foster children.
okay.
Yeah, there's so much that we can do to help our kids become grounded, clear, conscious, caring. So that's another one of my dreams.
It keeps going, and their children, if they have them, benefit from that. And I had the joy of being a Montessori teacher, preschool teacher. A lot of joy with that. And I am getting all these notifications. Anyway, we're about at the end of our time, and I just want to thank you, Pen. Really great. And I hope that we'll collaborate again. We'll find some way to do that, because I think this has been really valuable, certainly for my audience, and maybe it is for yours as well. And I want to thank everybody who joined the challenge this week. I'm excited to get it up into the new Living Lessons Library members platform, which is under construction now in Thinkific. And it's going to take me some time to do it, but I'm doing it. And in the meantime, you are going to receive, anybody who's been here throughout the challenge, you'll actually receive a kind of a wrap-up webpage that will have all of the replays on it for you. And so you get to review that material before I finish uploading it all into Thinkific. And there's Pen, how you get in touch with Pen. Be sure to click on those links and download those resources that we've shared with you today. And thank you so much for being part of the challenge. Now, I want to let you know that my Webby workshop is coming up on July 7th. That's a Friday. It's going to be 90 minutes of going deeper into this information, which includes how to begin to expand your understanding of your energy field. And of course, as Pan has let you know, once you begin to do this work, the way that you talk to yourself changes. And as you go through your chakra work, the way that you talk to yourself, the way that you see yourself, the way that you feel yourself, and the understanding that you move into of your life story becomes a very, very different experience. And it is life-serving, and in my view, it's life-changing. Okay, once again, thank you, Pan. Thanks everybody for being here, and
Thank you.
later.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Bye-bye.